I planned to rent out my apartment, but when I came with the tenants, my sister and her fiancé met me there. Oh, Mom said we could stay here. She confirmed it, so I made one call, and then enjoyed watching their world crumble. Part 1. Hi, I'm Sarah. Today I'm going to read you the story of Naomi, which is titled like this. I planned to rent out my apartment, but when I came with the tenants, my sister and her fiancé met me there. Oh, Mom said we could stay here. She confirmed it. So I made one call and then enjoyed watching their world crumble. Well, let's go. So, here I am, Naomi, 34 years old, sitting in my apartment that I bought 3 years ago with a mortgage, staring at this email from my company's HR department. They want me to go work at our European branch for 2 whole years. 2 years. That's a long time to be away from home. I work for this big tech company, and honestly, I've got a pretty good position there. The money's decent, too, which is how I managed to get this place. It's nothing fancy, but it's mine, you know. Well, mine and the bank's for now. I still have plenty of mortgage payments left. But here's the thing, I can't just let this apartment sit empty for 2 years. That would be stupid. I mean, I'd still have to pay the mortgage while I'm gone, and that's just throwing money away. So I started thinking, why not rent it out? Use that rental money to cover my mortgage payments. I called up this lawyer I know, Mike. He's helped me with some stuff before when I bought the place. Mike, I need to pick your brain about something, I said when he answered. I'm going abroad for work for 2 years. I want to rent out my apartment. How do I do this right so I don't get screwed by the tax people later? He laughed. Smart thinking. Yeah, you'll need a proper lease agreement. I can draft one for you, and you'll have to report the rental income on your taxes, but it's pretty straightforward. Just keep all your receipts. That got me thinking about the condition of my place. It's not bad, but it could use some work. So I decided to hire some contractors to fix things up. I found this crew through a friend's recommendation. 3 guys showed up the next Monday. What are we looking at here? The main guy, Tony, asked. Kitchen needs new paint. Bathroom could use some tile work, and the living room walls have some scuff marks. Nothing major, but I want it to look fresh. 2 weeks, tops, Tony said. But you can't stay here while we're working. Too much dust and noise. That's when I called my friend Sarah. She's got this big house across town, and I knew she had a spare room. Sarah, can I crash at your place for a couple of weeks? Getting some work done on my apartment. Of course. You know you're always welcome here. So I packed up some clothes and moved into Sarah's guest room. The contractor started the next day, and man, was I glad I wasn't there. The noise was incredible, even from Sarah's place when I drove by to check on them. But here's the thing. I hadn't told my parents yet, and that was weighing on me. My parents are, well, they're a lot. They like to get involved in everything I do, give advice I didn't ask for, make suggestions that aren't really suggestions, if you know what I mean. My sister Lisa is 8 years younger than me, so she's 26. She still lives with my parents, which honestly doesn't surprise me. They've always babied her. She's been dating this guy Jake for about 6 months now. He seems okay, I guess, but he doesn't really work much. Lisa doesn't either, for that matter. She went to college, but I'm the one who paid for most of it because my parents said they couldn't afford it. Anyway, I knew I had to tell them about the Europe thing eventually. I just kept putting it off because I knew they'd have opinions. They always do. 2 weeks before I was supposed to leave, I finally worked up the nerve. I called my mom. Hi, Mom. Can I come over for dinner tonight? I have some news to share. Of course. I'll make your favorite. Lisa and Jake will be here, too. I showed up at 6 with a bottle of wine. My parents live in this nice house they bought when I was in high school. It's bigger than my place, that's for sure. We sat down for dinner. Mom had made pot roast, which was pretty good. Lisa was there with Jake, and she kept looking at her phone during dinner. Typical. So, what's this news you wanted to share? Mom asked. I took a deep breath. The company offered me a position in Europe. I'll be gone for 2 years, working at our branch there. My parents looked at each other, then back at me. Tell us more, Mom said, leaning forward. So I explained about the position, the responsibilities, the timeline. Out of the corner of my eye, I could see Lisa rolling her eyes. She always did that when I talked about work stuff, like it was boring or something. That sounds wonderful, honey, Mom said. We're proud of you, Dad said. Thanks, I said, but there's one more thing. I'm planning to rent out my apartment while I'm gone. I mean, I can't just let it sit empty for 2 years. I still have mortgage payments to make. The mood in the room changed instantly. Mom and Dad looked at each other again, and I knew that look. They were having one of those silent conversations married people have. Actually, Mom said slowly, you don't need to rent it out to strangers. Lisa and Jake could stay there. That way, you know it's in good hands and you don't have to worry about tenants trashing the place. I blinked. Excuse me? Your sister needs her own space, Mom said. And Jake, too. They're planning to get married soon. I looked at Lisa, who was suddenly very interested in the conversation. Jake was smiling like someone had just told him he'd won the lottery. Okay, I said carefully. If they want to rent it from me, I'm open to that. I'd even give you guys a 20% discount off what I was planning to charge. The silence that followed was deafening. Mom's face went white, then red. Are you serious right now? You want to charge your own sister rent? She asked. Mom, I have a mortgage to pay. The whole point of renting the place out is to cover those payments while I'm gone. I tried to stay calm. But she's family, Mom said, her voice getting louder. Lisa finally spoke up. God, Naomi, you're so greedy. I can't believe you won't just let me live there. I do help family, I shot back. Who paid for Lisa's college when you guys said you couldn't afford it? Who lends you money whenever you ask for it? Dad cleared his throat. That's different, honey. How is it different? I asked. Lisa leaned forward. Because you make way more money than we do. You can afford to let me live there for free. I felt my blood pressure rising. Lisa, I make more money because I work my ass off, and I still have bills to pay. We need that income. We're saving for Lisa's wedding, Dad said. I need income to pay my mortgage, I said. How is my situation any different from yours? Lisa slammed her hand on the table. We're your family, she snapped. And besides, I don't want to live in Mom and Dad's rental apartment. It's in a terrible neighborhood. Your place is downtown near everything. So you want the better apartment, but you don't want to pay for it? God, you're such a bastard, Lisa said. Jake finally spoke up. Come on, Naomi. We wouldn't trash the place or anything. We'd take good care of it. I'm sure you would, but I'm not running a charity here, I replied. The room went completely silent. You could have heard a pin drop. Mom's voice was ice cold when she finally spoke. I think you should leave. Fine by me, I said. I grabbed my purse and headed for the door. Nobody said goodbye. Nobody walked me out. I just left. The drive back to Sarah's house was a blur. I was shaking. I was so angry. How dare they act like I owe them something, like I was being unreasonable for wanting to get paid for the use of my apartment. Sarah was in the kitchen when I walked in. Hey, how did dinner go? She asked, then looked at my face. Oh, what happened? I told her everything, every word of the conversation. Sarah shook her head. Naomi, honey, I hate to say this, but they've always favored Lisa. Even when we were in high school, it was obvious. Lisa gets away with everything, and you're expected to be the responsible one who helps out. I sat down at her kitchen table and put my head in my hands. You're right. I know you're right, but it still hurts. Sarah made us both tea, and we sat there talking until almost midnight. She reminded me of all the times over the years when my parents had asked me for money or expected me to help with Lisa's expenses, or just generally treated me like the family ATM. You're doing the right thing, she said. Don't let them guilt you into changing your mind. I won't, I said, but God, this sucks. The next 3 days were quiet. No phone calls from my parents, no texts from Lisa, nothing. Part of me was relieved, but part of me was also hurt. Like, they couldn't even try to understand my position. On the 4th day, I drove over to my apartment to check on the renovation work. The contractors had finished, and the place looked amazing. Fresh paint everywhere, new fixtures in the bathroom, even some new cabinet hardware in the kitchen. Tony and his crew had done a great job. After they left, I sat in my empty apartment and looked at the rental applications I'd received online. There were quite a few, but one couple really stood out, Mark and Jennifer Chin. Both had good jobs, excellent credit scores, and great references from previous landlords. They seemed perfect. I called them that afternoon. Hi, is this Jennifer? This is Naomi about the apartment rental. Would you like to see the place? I could meet you there the day after tomorrow around 2 o'clock. That would be perfect. We're very interested. Wonderful. I'll text you the address. 2 days later, I drove over to meet them. I got there a few minutes early and waited outside the building. They showed up right on time, a nice-looking couple in their early 30s, both dressed professionally. We walked into the building and took the elevator up to the 3rd floor. I was chatting with them about the neighborhood, telling them about the grocery store around the corner and the good restaurant 2 blocks away. It sounds like a great area, Mark said. It really is. I've loved living here. We got to my door and I pulled out my key. Okay, here we are, I said, unlocking the door. I pushed it open and stepped inside with Mark and Jennifer right behind me. And that's when I saw them. Lisa was sitting on my couch in sweatpants and a t-shirt. Jake was in the kitchen making himself a sandwich. There were suitcases in the corner by the window and Lisa's clothes were draped over the armchair. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. What the hell? I said. Jennifer and Mark were standing behind me in the doorway, clearly confused. Lisa looked up from the couch like nothing was wrong. Oh, hey, Naomi. You should have knocked. Knocked? This is my apartment. Jake turned around from the kitchen counter, still holding his sandwich. Hey there, he said to Mark and Jennifer, like this was totally normal. Mark and Jennifer looked at each other, then at me. Jennifer said quietly, is this a bad time? No, it's not a bad time, I said, my voice getting louder. These people are not supposed to be here. Lisa stood up. Actually, we are. Mom gave us the key yesterday. We're going to be living here while you're gone. I stared at her. What? The spare key you gave her when you bought this place? She gave it to us yesterday. We moved in last night. My hands were shaking. Jennifer touched my arm. Maybe we should come back another time, she said softly. No, wait, I said. But I could see in their faces that they were already done. This was too weird, too uncomfortable. We'll call you, Mark said. But I knew they wouldn't. They left, and I heard their footsteps disappearing down the hall. I turned back to Lisa and Jake, who were both looking at me like I was the one being unreasonable. Get out, I said. We're not going anywhere, Lisa said. Mom said we could stay here. Jake nodded. Yeah, and don't worry about utilities or anything. We figure you can keep paying those yourself. I pulled out my phone and dialed my mother's number. My hands were still shaking from anger, and I could feel Lisa and Jake watching me from across the room. Mom answered on the 3rd ring. Did you really give Lisa the key to my apartment? I asked without saying hello. Mom's voice got that defensive tone she always used when she knew she was wrong but didn't want to admit it. Lisa needs a place to stay and you're being selfish about this whole thing. I thought if they just moved in, you'd see how silly you're being. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Mom, this is breaking and entering. They don't have permission to be here. Don't be dramatic. They're family. I don't care if they're the Pope. This is my apartment, and I didn't say they could live here. I told her about Mark and Jennifer, how they'd left because of this mess, how embarrassing it had been. Mom just kept saying I was overreacting and being greedy. I hung up on her. Behind me, Lisa was laughing. You should have seen your face when you walked in here, she said to Jake. It was priceless. That was it. I walked out of the apartment without saying another word to either of them. I sat in my car in the parking lot and called 911. I need to report a break-in, I told the dispatcher. There are people in my apartment who don't have permission to be there. The dispatcher asked for my address and said they'd send officers over. I told them I'd meet them in the lobby. 20 minutes later, 2 police officers showed up, Officer Martinez and Officer Kim. I explained the whole situation as we rode the elevator up, how I was leaving for Europe, how my family wanted me to let my sister live there for free, how my mother had given them my spare key without my permission. We got to my door and I unlocked it with my key. Lisa and Jake were still there, but now they looked nervous when they saw the cops. What's going on? Lisa asked, but her voice wasn't as confident as before. Officer Martinez stepped forward. He looked at their IDs and then at me. Ma'am, he said, can you confirm that you didn't give these individuals permission to be in this apartment? That's correct. I did not give them permission. Officer Kim turned to Lisa and Jake. Do you have any documentation showing you have the right to be here, a lease agreement? Anything like that? Lisa looked panicked. Our mom gave us the key. She has a spare. The owner of the apartment is standing right here, Officer Martinez said. And she's telling us she does not have permission to be here. You need to gather your belongings and leave within the next hour. That's when Lisa completely lost it. She started screaming at me, calling me names I won't repeat. She said I was ruining her life, that I was a terrible sister, that I'd always been jealous of her. Then she tried to come at me. Officer Kim grabbed her arm before she could reach me. But Jake made it worse. When he saw the cop holding Lisa's arm, he shoved Officer Kim and shouted, "Get your hands off her." That was a mistake. Both officers immediately moved to restrain Jake, and within seconds he was on the floor in handcuffs. Lisa was screaming even louder now, and when she tried to kick Officer Martinez she ended up in handcuffs, too. You're both under arrest, Officer Martinez said. For trespassing and assaulting a police officer. They read them their rights while I stood there watching, my sister and her boyfriend being arrested in my apartment. The officers escorted them out in handcuffs. Lisa was still yelling as they walked her down the hall, but now she was crying, too. After they left, I sat down on my couch and just breathed for a minute. The apartment was quiet, but there was still evidence of their brief occupation everywhere, their clothes, their suitcases, some food in the kitchen. I spent the next 2 hours packing all their stuff back into their suitcases. I wasn't gentle about it. I just shoved everything in and zipped the bag shut. Then I called a courier service and had them pick up the suitcases and deliver them to my parents' house. I didn't want to deal with that myself. While I was waiting for the courier, I called a locksmith I knew. The building super had recommended him when I first moved in. Hey, it's Naomi from apartment 3B. I need my locks changed today, like right now, if possible. He said he could be there in an hour. True to his word, he showed up with his tools and had new locks installed in 30 minutes. I now had completely new keys, and my parents' spare key was useless. The whole time he was working, my phone kept ringing, my parents calling over and over. I didn't answer. Then the text started. My mother sent me message after message. I was a terrible daughter. I was selfish. I was destroying the family. I was a monster for having my own sister arrested. I didn't respond to any of them. The next morning, Officer Martinez called me. We wanted to let you know that your sister and her boyfriend spent the night in jail. They're asking if you want to press charges. You can click on share more to see if there is a part 3.